Hello and welcome to 100 Yards of Football Sports. I'm your host for today's show, Coach Kevin Bull Jones. And today I have a wonderful guest here with us. This man has done so much in football as far as coaching and mentoring, and as well as being a great friend of mine and just having the pleasure of learning football from him and watching him prosper and move on through his various steps in his life with college football. So without further ado, if you like the show, please come in and join 100 Yards of Football Sports. My guest for today, the head coach of Marshall University,
Yeah,
Thundering Herd,
yeah, 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 yeah,
Coach
yeah.
Charles Huff. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing phenomenal, man. I'm doing phenomenal. I appreciate you guys having me on. Obviously, it's been a whirlwind, but I've enjoyed every moment of it. Haven't had a bad day. Haven't had, the moments you say, well, do you really want to be a head coach? It's been great. We got a lot of work to do here, but it's been a phenomenal 3-4 weeks so far.
Well, I'll tell you what, to watch the press conference and just listening to how the president, Mr. Gilbert, was very excited, the athletic director, very excited. Everybody is knowing that, with the change and you coming in, there's going to be I just heard some buzzwords in there that made me feel good because I know what you're going to do where you're at now. But let's talk about what it was like when you got the call and the whole process.
It was good. Obviously, we had just finished the national championship, and we were kind of transitioning back to Tuscaloosa, and they were in the beginning stages of their process. They were kind of going through their process, vetting their candidates, and actually I interviewed the first time the day after the national championship. As soon as I got back, I dropped my bags and switched my tie and kept my same suit on and interviewed over Zoom, and that went really well. And then 3 or 4 days later, got a chance to go to campus, and through the whole process, they did a phenomenal job of vetting their system, telling me exactly what they were looking for, and it was a good marriage. And I actually got the phone call the day they offered me the job. I was at my son's 8-year-old basketball game, and there was about 150 parents in the background yelling, "Shoot, jump, oh, pass it." So I had one phone to the ear and finger in the other ear trying to hear, but they called and offered me the job, and they said something that really stuck with me. And they said, you have what we're looking for. And I kind of remind myself of that all the time when, when you're going throughout your day. I already have it. It's just my job to do a daily basis of pulling it out and showing it and basically being myself. I don't have to be anybody but myself because, like they said when they call me, you have something we're looking for. And I think that kind of helps me stay grounded and helps me stay focused.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and just let something slip out here because I'm definitely partial to knowing what a great man you are as well as a coach. But in my longevity on the high school level and dealing with high school coaches, I mean college coaches, and we as high school coaches always, and have building relationships with collegiate coaches, and they come to your school and you go to their camps. We always used to say, who's the guy that you know he speaks to you even if you don't have that big time player, or when you do have the big time player, you hear from everybody. But there's some coaches that are in a different realm of their own, their personality, the way they communicate with you away from football, during football, when you have a big recruit, when you don't have a big recruit, and always making you feel warm and able to open up and feel like you care about kids. That is one of the main things that I knew about you from day one. And we talked way back in the day. I mean, way back in the day. And, to see where you are now, it couldn't have happened to a better person. I just think that, this was just a wonderful time for all that you've done in collegiate football and everywhere you've been. And to now be in a situation now where you get to lead your own program. And us high school coaches, and I say us, we never forget those coaches like yourself that they always speak to you. They always say hello. Even if they can't, if you guys can't speak right now, you still, when you get a chance, drop a text, because yeah, we're stuck in the school. We don't realize how busy you guys really are because we're not in your world. But that has always been something I thought that was special about you, and that's just you. And I feel good saying it because I know that's. I can't wait to see what's going to happen up there in West Virginia. It's going to be a beautiful sight to watch. What's going to go on this fall? So I'm I appreciate where you are, what you've done, and when it's all said and done, please let us know how important it is for coaches to go through the process and then have the connection with the high school coaches because a lot of guys just don't know.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I mean, I'm sitting in this seat because of my relationships with high school coaches. And it's a lot big. We all know the same thing. There are high school coaches out there that are smarter than me, that are won more games than me, have been head coaches and run programs. But the reason I'm sitting here is because of the relationships. I had really good relationship with high school coaches who entrusted me with their kids, who were able to send their kids, to the schools I was at, which allowed me and the staffs that I were on to have success, which allowed my career to kind of climb, and I think that's where a lot of times some college coaches forget, and it gets tough. I get it. Sometimes when you're in a time crunch, you can't go sit and spend 45 minutes with a guy who may not have a player, when you're trying to hit a certain amount of schools and fly out. But I think this being intentional about being relational. You don't have to spend an hour with a guy to let them know, hey, man, I appreciate you. Hey, I know you don't have anybody, but hey, pulling for you guys this weekend. And I think that's what helped my career, get to where it is. I had a lot of really good relationships, not only with high school coaches, but with other college coaches. And those relationships allowed me to extend the avenues of success that I've had. I can't run a football, catch it, or throw it. But I've been able to develop some relationships with some guys who could do it really well. Right. And I think those relationships have allowed, kind of some of the building blocks of where I've been and how I've climbed the ranks from Tennessee State to Alabama to Marshall. And I think when you look back on it, it was relationships, and recruiting is obviously relationships, and college coaches are nothing without high school coaches, because if you guys don't train, mold, groom the players for us to be able to recruit, we don't have jobs. And that's just the reality of it. And a lot of times, I know there's other high school coaches out there, some better than others, some work harder than others, whatever it may be. But I think all of them have a role that has helped a lot of us college coaches get there. And I never want to forget that when I'm moving around and moving through my career.
Well, of course, watching you in various stops that you've had, and just even on the NFL level, and just watching the humbleness about you was impressive. And I feel like some of that's kind of rubbed on me a little bit. I'm getting better with that, but it warms me to say that in front of everybody listening this evening because of the stops you've had in various places and success you had with the people that you've recruited. And I'd like for you to elaborate on that, just from the various stops you've had and the people that, such as the Saquon Barkleys, but there's been more than just that. Even in other places, such as Alabama, when you was you was with Coach PJ Fleck, all of those places you've been. Can you elaborate on that, son?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've traveled the long road to the top. I wasn't born with the last name Walsh or with the last name Lombardi, so I didn't have the quick route. But what I found along the way is you meet really good people, and the biggest thing you learn is no matter how high you get or how low you get. We won a national championship at Alabama, and we were 1-11 at Western Michigan. And no matter how high you've been or how low you've been, how you treat people along the way is what people remember. I still communicate with every single guy on that Western Michigan staff, and we were the worst team in the conference at that point, and we're still very close. So, as I moved from, the smaller level, the 1 AA's to obviously the Power Five, the Group of Five, and bouncing around, I think along the way you learn a lot. And the one consistent or the one constant is that how you treat people is usually how it comes back to you. I treated people really, really well when I was at Tennessee State, which got me the job at the University of Maryland. When I was at the University of Maryland, I treated guys really, really well. And from there, I got the job at Vanderbilt. And from there, treating people really, really well got me the job at the Buffalo Bills. And, and the job I got after the Buffalo Bills was because Dave Wanstead, who was a defensive coordinator at the end of the year, came in and said, "Hey, I've been watching you work all year, and PJ Fleck needs a running back coach." And I gave him your name. Go down to the convention and interview. You can get the job if you don't screw it up. I said, okay, well, and from there, James Franklin called me back and said, "Hey, I want you to come to Penn State with me." And from there, Joe Moorhead, who worked with us at Penn State for 2 years, said, "Hey, I want you to go to Mississippi State with me." From there, Coach Saban called and said, "Hey, I've been watching your backs and I've been watching your recruiting for a long time, and I want you to be a part of our staff." And from there, end up with Marshall. And I think it goes back to, and do I know a lot of football? Yes. And can X's and O's? Yes. I know if my X is bigger than your O, I got a better chance to win. But at the end of the day, every job I've gotten has been through connections and relationships, and how you've treated people, and how, people you may not even have known were watching you.
That's a point well spoken. I want to know about I know for me, everywhere I've been, every head coach that I've learned something in every stop where I've been. There's, whether it's a word or two, I picked up something. Elaborate on that a little bit. Just some things that, the core part of you is you, but those things that help accentuate you as to be a head coach now.
Yeah. I've been blessed enough to be around a lot of phenomenal football minds, a lot of phenomenal football construction builders.
Wow.
As far as building a program, building the offense, building a certain part of a program, whether that be red zone, short yardage, life skills, equipment, weight room. So I've seen it built, a few different ways. I think some of the things that I really learned. You go all the way back to my time with James Franklin at Maryland, and James Franklin taught me to be the most detailed person I could be. Everything matters, and then everything matters from how the lines are drawn to what pen you write with. It all matters. Be as detailed as you possibly can and make it very clear so that everybody can be on the same page. I learned from Chan Gailey that no matter how good of a schematic coach you think you are, if you don't have a quarterback, it's going to be very hard to win. And you can draw as many lines on the paper as you want. You can do all you want. You got these great plays, great. But if you don't have a quarterback, it's going to be very hard to win. I learned from PJ Fleck. PJ Fleck's, some guys love him, some guys don't like him, some guys are in the middle. But what PJ taught me is be yourself. You're not going to make everybody happy. You're not going to make everybody happy. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But what you can be is yourself, because at the end of the day, you can lay your head down and say, "Hey, I'm me." And some people will love you, some people will hate you, some people, whatever it may be. And then obviously, when I got with Coach Saban, the master of consistency, consistency in performance, consistency in preparation, consistency in approach. And I think when you look at his obviously career, he's done a lot of phenomenal things, but I think the one word that jumps out, especially to other football coaches, is the consistency. It's not just, he won a national championship 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. Consistently, even when they weren't national champions, they were a good championship program. Right. And I think that's some of the things that I learned. It's every day. Your everyday approach has got to be consistent. Some people get bored with the monotony of the routine, and you can't. You can't, because the moment you try to spice it up or change it up, the kids see that, and the kids see a different approach. The day you come in and this game's bigger than the last game because this is our crosstown rival, and they're all big. I've never seen anybody win their rivalry game and didn't win another game, and people said they had a great season. They're all big. They all matter. Each play, one play at a
Right.
time. So, yeah, is there games that have a little more emphasis? Yeah, but it's still a game. I mean, you want to win them all. So you don't want to win one over the other. And I think a lot of times, people kind of see Coach Saban's, consistent approach as a little bit blah or not fun, because he doesn't drive an ice cream truck up on the practice field and give everybody ice cream. And well, winning is fun. Winning is fun, and winning is hard. Winning is not ice cream. It's not. I'm not saying you can't do things to have fun on your team or whatever it is, but it's
Right.
hard. It's hard to win. It's hard to win consistently. And when you're winning, you're not going to make everybody happy, because there's a lot of times you got to confront losing behavior. You got to confront losing attitude. You got to confront losing environment. So it's not easy.
Right. Well, with you saying that, that leads me to my next question. I saw in one of the, I saw it somewhere you mentioned in reference to recruiting and the prom date and things of that nature, and picking the prom date and what type of people you're going to recruit. And I would love for you to elaborate on that, because I just thought that was so good, and I knew I shot something back to you when I saw it, I think on Twitter or something. But can you elaborate on the whole
Yeah,
recruiting
I think,
recruiting deal?
and obviously recruiting is the lifeline of any college football program. It's even become the lifeline of high school programs now, to be honest. But when you're recruiting, you can't have an idea of who you are, who you think you are, or who you think will like you. You got to treat it like you're the best cookie in the jar, and you got to treat it like, hey, I'm going to prom as my senior year. I'm gonna ask the most beautiful girl in the school, and if she says no, I'm gonna go ask the second most beautiful girl in the school. And I think when you recruit with that mentality, you don't limit yourself, because you never
Mhm.
know. I mean, you may start recruiting a kid, and again, the relationship may be so strong that the kid chooses Marshall. And the reality of it is, if Alabama and Ohio State and Clemson are in it, that's a little bit unrealistic. That's probably like calling Beyonce and asking her to go to your high school prom with you. But the reality of it is that the kids that are in your realm, the young men that are in your vision, I don't ever think a kid is too good, or a kid, the most he can say is no. And, and
Right.
and it starts with a relationship. And I think you look back over the years, there's a lot of smaller schools or schools that may not have the flash or whatever that end up with really, really good players. And I think it's about relationships. I think the college game has changed a little bit now. Kids want to come out of high school and play.
Yes.
The days when I was in college, or when I was coming out of high school, you were looking to redshirt. Everybody redshirt. It was just something you did. And the coach say, "Oh man, after a year redshirt, you'll be." Now kids are looking to play,
Right.
and wherever they feel like they can get that opportunity, and they feel like they have a good relationship with the coaching staff and the environment, that's where they're going. It's not the old, well, I have to go to this big school in order for me to get to where I want to go. The thing now is I need to go play early, and I need to not be sitting behind 4 or 5 other 5 stars. So I think when you take that approach, and you just ask the girl that you want to go to prom with, you ask her. She says no, you say, okay, thank you. You go ask the next one. But I think when you take that approach in recruiting, you don't limit yourself.
Well, and how do you navigate with this whole, during the pandemic stuff and what we're going through, and of course NCAA just saying now the extension of the dead period. How do you navigate through all of that at this particular time with the way things are going? How does your day roll out?
Yeah, well, I think obviously this is going to be a monumental year and time for recruiting, because there's going to be a lot of guessing. There's going to be
Mm,
a lot of unidentified prospects.
mm,
So our plan is we got to out evaluate guys. We got to get all the information. And when we say out evaluate, I'm not just talking about putting on the film and watching a 2 minute or 3 minute huddle.
okay.
I'm talking about fully evaluating and vetting each and every kid that we decide to sign. That means calling his high school coach. That means calling his counselor. That means calling the coach that played against him. That means evaluating the film. That means evaluating 2 or 3 games, not just the highlight film. That means getting a relationship with that kid. That means finding out, when was the last time the kid ran track? When was the last time the kid, showed up at a camp where he had a measurement? What's his
Right.
mom look like? What's his dad look like? What's his uncle? Because you're without seeing the kids live, you're looking at film, and you don't know, is he 5'8" or is he 5'10"? You don't know, is he 160 pounds or is he 175 pounds? You don't know, does he have broad shoulders or does he have narrow shoulders? Is he going to be able to put on weight? Is he not going to be able to put on weight? You don't know, okay, is he 4'6" or is he 4'7" 5"? Those are things you don't know. And I mean, everybody can say, well, he ran this or he ran that, but until you get it with your own eyes, it's hard to truly believe, and I think, this year is going to be a year where there may be a lot of guessing going on in recruiting. I think everybody's going to be doing it to some extent. We
Right.
just got to minimize the amount of guessing that we do by trying to cross-reference and checks and balances so that you don't miss, so that you don't end up taking a kid you thought was 5'10", he shows up 5'9.5". That's a difference.
Okay.
So you don't end up taking the kid you thought was 6 foot, he shows up 5'10.5". That's a difference, and a kid that is 175 in high school, but he's got narrow shoulders, so he's only going to be 178 his entire career.
Wow.
Those are the things that you don't need to see, that you don't get to see. And it's really happening, and high school coaches know this as well. It's happening in the most developmental period in a kid's life, that year between the 11th grade and the 12th grade year. Kids jump big
Right.
time. Kids grow into their bodies. Big guys grow into their bodies. They look like a baby deer in sophomore film, and by the time they put on that senior film, as they're a new man. And
Right.
the college coaches aren't going to get a chance to see that clearly, and that's where I think there's going to be a lot of guessing going on, or a lot of hopefully checks and balances.
Well, I know that spring possibly it possibly happened for you all. This spring football practice maybe will happen. How do you go about your day preparing for that, knowing that the NC2A could, changes come and changes, preparing for sudden change? How do you navigate through that?
Yeah, I think I go back to what I learned with Coach Saban. You consistency and approach. Playing it like it's going to happen, playing it like it's a normal year, and then be ready to adjust. But if you don't have a plan, it's hard to kind of keep things rolling. So for us, day to day wise, we're starting our fourth quarter program. We started today actually with a weight room session. We're going to hit the field for mat drills, what people would call mat drills, tomorrow, and we're going to have probably 4 weeks of that before we start spring ball. We're doing our meetings and our installs and kind of getting the kids, accustomed to the new systems and new schemes. And then we'll hit our spring ball, COVID allowing, and we'll have our 15 spring practices, and we'll try and identify who can do what we're asking them to do, when we're asking them to do it, the way we're asking them to be done, who we can count on in the fall, who we need to develop a little bit more.
Okay.
And then we'll have our spring, and hopefully we'll be able to, attack recruiting on the back end of that, and if that means
Mm.
getting out of the office and getting on the road, or if that means, being in the office and combing through that information so we can, minimize our guessing. That's what we'll be doing.
Well, I know that your family, wife, and kids are very excited for you. Um, just watching, like I said, the press conference, and knowing all the work that I know that you have put in through all these years. Back in the day when we used to sit at, sit and have a burger, back in the day, and to where you are now because of what you've done. I'm truly thankful to know that I get a chance to watch the body of work and the joy and the rewards that come with what you have done. I just feel like the Marshall family has got a gem, and I'm not just saying that because I know you for so long. I know the work that you put in. Final thoughts on where you're going right now with the program and for the season, and I don't want to say mottos, but your theme of where Coach Charles Huff wants to take Marshall Thundering Herds.
Yeah, we're just working every day to be a champion, and
Mm.
that sounds a little cliche, but we're not trying to win a championship. We're not trying to win a game. We're just trying to be the best version of ourselves that we can be today. And I try to teach our guys that, because that's what's going to get you through life. You can't go through life looking for the next job or looking for the next move or when am I going to get my next check. The only thing you can do is wake up every day, attack the day with everything you got, try to be the best version of you that day. And I tell guys, some days you're going to be 80%. I need all 80% today.
Right.
Some days you're going to be 72%. I need all 72% today. And if you can lay your head down at the end of the night and say, hey, you know what, today I was a champion. I was a champion in the way I conducted myself on the field, off the field. You know, when you become an adult, I was a champion with the way I conducted myself with my family, the way I conducted myself at work, the way I conducted myself in the weight room, classroom, on the field. If you can do that every day, and the more of those days you put together, the harder it's going to be to fail. And if you put enough of those days together, you'll look up and you'll be in the championship. And whether that's the championship game or whether that's as an adult, you know, that's what I've done throughout my career. And I looked up and I was standing at the podium of, you know, being a head coach. And I think if we can get our kids to understand that, it relieves some of the anxiety of if and when and how, and just worry about and focus today. You know, the only thing you can focus on is being the best you can be today. And then we'll worry about tomorrow, you know, tomorrow. But be the best you can be today. Focus on being a champion today, and you'll end up where you want to be.
Well, on behalf of 100 Yards of Football Sports, I want to tell you thank you for taking time out. I love you, man. I believe in everything that you do, and been knowing you for so long. And I just see that, you know, I see the fruits of your labor. I can't wait to see when you all get on that field. Can't wait to see you guys come down here, recruit Atlanta, and everywhere you're going, up and down the seaboard. I can't wait to see how you come in and like a thief in the night and get some great ball players and have them turn up to the next level. As I know how you coach, and I know how you're gonna make your coaches get it done. So it's electricity on this end for me, and I want to thank you for coming out to spend some time with us tonight.
I appreciate it, man. You've been doing this a long while, and you know what you're talking about, and you've seen a lot of good ones. You've seen a lot of bad ones. You've been around the block, and the one thing I can say is you on top of your knowledge of the game of football, you have a phenomenal ability to communicate and connect with people, and that means a lot to me.
Oh man, hey, I'm speechless on that one. Thank you so much for coming. And listen, if you enjoyed the show, please share. Thank you for joining us. 100 Yards Football